I need you to stay with me right now because what I am about to tell you cannot be undone. Tonight my mother burned your photo. Not tore it. Not hid it. Not quietly disapproved. She held it over the flame and watched it curl into ash as if she were protecting me from something dangerous. As if loving you were a threat to my future. And I stood there frozen, feeling like a boy again, not the man who builds rockets and bends steel into submission. I could not move. I could not breathe. I could not decide whether to save the photo or defend the woman who gave me life. You have to understand what that means. My mother does not react. She calculates. She observes. She waits. If she disapproves, she usually does it with silence. Silence is her sharpest weapon. But tonight there was no silence. There was fire. And I keep replaying the moment she looked at your face. It was less than a second. One glance. Something shifted in her eyes. Something I could not decode. Fear, recognition, memory. She did not ask me questions about you. She did not test me. She did not even say your name. She simply said, not her. And then the flame rose. Tell me something honestly. If the woman who raised the man you love looked at your picture and decided you were wrong for him, would you fight for him? Or would you step back and protect your dignity? Because right now I am standing between two fires. The one she lit in that room. And the one you lit inside my chest months ago? You think I am fearless? You think I run toward risk? But this is different. Companies can fail. Rockets can explode. I rebuild. I redesign. I launch again. But what happens when love collapses? What happens when I choose you and lose my family? Or choose my family and lose you? I have not told you the real reason yet. There is something deeper in the way she looked at you. Something that did not feel like judgment. It felt like recognition. And that terrifies me more than rejection. Because if she recognized something, it means she knows something. And I do not. You deserve honesty from me. If this confession feels heavy, stay. If it feels dangerous, stay anyway. If you feel your heart leaning closer right now, quietly subscribe so you do not miss what happens to us, and tell me where you are watching from tonight, and what time it is where you are. I am asking because I need to picture you somewhere real while I unravel this. Do you know what it feels like to realize the woman you might marry is already at war with the woman who raised you? I keep thinking about the way you laughed when you first told me you did not scare easily. You said you had lived enough life to recognize real love when it arrived. You said you were not looking for fairy tales. You wanted depth, stability, a man who chooses you in daylight, not just in private, and I promised myself I would be that man. But tonight I hesitated. When the photo burned, I did not grab it immediately. I watched it for half a second too long. That half second feels like betrayal. Was I protecting her feelings? Or was I protecting myself from the possibility that she might be right? You see how complicated this becomes. You think this is about approval. It is not. It is about legacy. About patterns. About wounds that existed before you ever entered my life. My mother once loved a man her own family rejected. She chose him anyway. And she paid for that choice in ways she never speaks about. So when she looked at your face, was she trying to save me from her story? Or from repeating it? If I choose you, I am not just choosing a partner. I am choosing a direction for the rest of my life. A woman who will sit at my table, hold my hand in hospital rooms, whisper truth to me when the world grows loud. And if I lose you because I hesitate, that loss will not be loud. It will be quiet. It will be the slow realization that I let fear make my decision. Tell me, would you still want a man who pauses when the fire starts? Because I am not pausing out of doubt about you. I am pausing because I am afraid of what I have not yet uncovered. And if I tell you what I suspect, you might look at me differently. I keep seeing ash. It is such a small thing, ash, almost weightless. But it carries what used to be a face I could hold in my hand. Your eyes, the curve of your smile, the quiet proof that you are not a fantasy in my head, you are real. And my mother burned it like she was erasing a future. I walked out of that room with my jaw locked so tightly it hurt. I acted calm because that is what I do when I am bleeding inside. I walked down the hallway like nothing happened, like I did not just watch the first physical evidence of you in my life turn to smoke. But the moment the door closed behind me, my body betrayed me, my hands shook. Not the kind of tremble that looks dramatic, the kind that feels humiliating because you do not control it. I poured a glass of water and watched it ripple like my own fear had weight. I wanted to call you immediately. Then I didn't. And that is where the guilt began. Because I knew if I heard your voice right then, I would crack. I would tell you everything and beg you not to go anywhere, not to let this scare you away. And I hate begging. Not because I am proud, but because I have learned that begging gives the other person power to destroy you. Yet you already have that power. You have it because I care. Do you know how rare it is for a man like me to admit that out loud? I can admit a technical failure in front of thousands, but admitting I care about one woman enough to lose sleep feels like walking into a room without armor. The worst part is, I cannot even be angry at her in the simple way people are angry at their mothers. Because her fear has history. Her fear is older than my relationship with you. Her fear was built brick by choices she made for love. So when she saw your face, she didn't just see you. She saw a doorway. And she slammed it shut with fire. I tried to replay the seconds before it happened, as if I could pull meaning out of the air. She took the photo from my hand, held it at a distance, and her expression tightened. Not disgust, not hatred. More like grief. Then she whispered something I almost didn't hear. It wasn't for me, it was for herself. Not again. That is what she said, not her. Not again. And that is when my stomach dropped, because it wasn't about you being wrong for me. It sounded like you were familiar in a way I did not understand. It sounded like she had seen you before, or someone like you before. I went back to the room after she left. I did something childish, desperate. I got down on my knees and touched the fireplace tray where the ash settled. I wanted to save something, anything. A corner that still held shape. A piece that could prove I didn't just stand there and let her do it. My fingers came back gray. That's all I saved. And then I had this thought that made me sick. What if she burned it? Because she knows you. Not personally, not the way people know each other casually. Something deeper. Something buried. Something that would change the way I look at my own life. I told you there is a truth I am delaying. Here it is, but not fully. My mother has a locked drawer she never opens when anyone is around. When I was younger, I saw her open it once by accident. Inside were photographs, letters, a scarf. Old things that smelled like a life she refused to speak about. She caught me looking, and she shut it so fast it made my heart jump. She didn't yell. She simply said, "Some doors are not for you." I haven't thought about that drawer in years. Until tonight. Because the way she said, "Not again," sounded like she was staring through your face into that drawer. Into something she has been hiding from me since I was a child. And now I am caught in a terrible position. If I confront her, I risk pushing her into a corner where she will weaponize her fear. She will make you the villain. She will make me choose. If I don't confront her, I risk losing you because I am walking blind. And you deserve more than a man who keeps secrets while asking for your trust. So tell me, do you want a man who protects you from his family's darkness? Or do you want a man who drags you into it, hand in hand, and says, "This is the truth, even if it hurts"? Because right now, I can't tell which option is love and which option is cowardice. I tried to sleep. I couldn't. I lay there imagining you somewhere quiet, maybe with your phone near you, maybe wondering why I'm not messaging, maybe telling yourself not to expect too much from a man who lives inside pressure. And then I imagined you deciding you were done, just done. No fight, no explanation. A mature decision made quietly, the way women like you protect their peace when they see chaos approaching. That image hit me harder than any public failure I've ever faced, because I would deserve it. If I delay too long, you'll think you were never my priority. But if I rush and demand you stand beside me against my mother, I might be asking you to walk into flames you didn't start. There's another thing. My mother did not just burn the photo. She asked me one question before she did it. She said, "How long has she had access to you?" Access, not love, not relationship. Access, as if you are an influence, as if my heart is a security breach. And I answered her like an idiot. I said, "Long enough that I can't go back." The moment those words left my mouth, her face went pale, like I confirmed something she feared. So now I am awake, holding ash on my fingertips, trying to decide whether to call you and risk pulling you into a war, or to stay silent and risk losing you. And I hate that those are the options. Because you deserve a third option. One where you are loved cleanly, chosen openly, protected without being hidden. But I don't know if I can give you that without breaking something in my family permanently. And that's the part that makes my throat tighten, because I can't pretend this won't cost something. It will. The only question is whether the cost is you, or the version of me that still tries to earn my mother's approval like a boy. I almost drove back to her house tonight. It was past midnight. The city was quiet in that way that makes your thoughts louder. I sat in my car with the engine running, staring at the road that leads to her door, asking myself whether I was about to fight for you or protect myself from what I might discover. I didn't go. Not because I was afraid of her, because I was afraid of the answer. You see, if this is just about control, I can handle it. If this is about her not wanting to lose influence over me, I can draw a line. I can say, I am a grown man, I choose who I love, and that will be the end of it. But what if it's not that simple? What if she knows something about you that I don't? That thought has been poisoning me quietly. I keep remembering something you said to me months ago. You told me there are parts of your past that shaped you in ways most people misunderstand. You said you are not ashamed of them, but you do not offer them up casually. You wait until you feel safe. Have I made you feel safe? Or have I only made you feel desired? There is a difference, and women who have lived long enough know it. When my mother asked how long you have had access to me, it was not jealousy, it was calculation. As if she was measuring influence. As if she was tracing patterns. And then she said something else that I did not tell you yet. She said, she knows how to reach you where you are weakest. That sentence has not left me. Because she is right, you do know where I am weakest. You do not attack it, you hold it. That is what makes you different. You listen when I am tired. You do not compete with my ambition. You soften it. You challenge me without humiliating me. You see the boy under the headlines. That is not manipulation. That is intimacy. But if my mother sees intimacy as danger, then loving you becomes rebellion. And here is where the tension grows heavier. I opened that locked drawer tonight. Yes. I did. I told myself I was only looking for context, not secrets. I told myself I deserved answers if she was going to try to erase you from my life. Inside were photographs of a woman I have never met. She looked nothing like you, but the expression in her eyes did. Calm, steady, the kind of gaze that does not beg to be chosen. The kind that waits to see if the man is strong enough to choose on his own. There were letters too, folded carefully. One of them had a single line circled in ink. I will not compete with your mother for your loyalty. My chest tightened when I read that. Because I am standing in the same sentence now. Did my father hesitate the way I am hesitating? Did he stand between love and approval and choose the wrong thing? Or the right one, for reasons I do not yet understand? This is the part where the tension inside me shifts from confusion to fear. Not fear of losing my mother, fear of repeating her story. What if she burned your photo because she saw history trying to repeat itself? What if she believes loving a woman like you will fracture everything? And what if she is wrong? Or worse, what if she is right? I keep imagining calling you and telling you everything, placing the truth in your hands, trusting you with the chaos. But then I imagine you going quiet. Not angry, not dramatic, just quiet. A mature woman pulling her heart back slowly because she refuses to step into a triangle she did not create. Would you stay if you knew my family might never fully accept you? Would you still want me if choosing you meant losing a piece of my past forever? And here is the turning point I am scared to admit. For a moment tonight, just a moment, I considered stepping back from you. Not because I love you less, because I love you enough to wonder if you deserve a man without this complication. That thought felt noble for exactly 5 seconds. Then it felt like cowardice, because walking away would protect me from confrontation. It would allow me to say, it just didn't work, instead of saying, I was afraid. You once told me you have no interest in being someone's secret. You want to be chosen publicly. Fully. I hear that in my head now, louder than my mother's voice. And I am realizing something uncomfortable. If I hesitate too long, I will not lose you because of her. I will lose you because of me. Because I am still deciding whether I am a son first or a partner first, and that choice is heavier than I expected. There is something else I found in that drawer that I have not told you yet, something that changes this from family tension to something far more personal. But I am not ready to say it out loud. Not yet. When I tell you what I found, you are going to feel the ground shift a little. I did. There was a photograph tucked behind the others, older than the rest, faded at the corners. It was my father, much younger, standing beside that same woman from the letters. They were close. Not just physically. You can see it in the way two people lean into each other when they believe the world is temporary, but love is not. And on the back of the photo, written in my mother's handwriting, were 3 words. She chose herself. That was it. No explanation. No bitterness. Just that sentence. I stared at it for a long time, because it told me something about the past that no one ever said out loud. That woman did not lose my father. She walked away. And suddenly everything inside me tightened. Because if history repeats, it will not be you being rejected. It will be you deciding you will not compete. Do you understand what that realization does to a man like me? It takes away the illusion that I am in control. You are not waiting helplessly to be accepted. You are watching me, measuring whether I am strong enough to stand beside you without wavering, and tonight I wavered. When my mother burned your photo, I did not shout. I did not stop her fast enough. I did not defend you with the force you deserved. I froze. And women who have lived long enough know how to read hesitation. You do not need to hear the story about the drawer to sense it. You would feel it in the way I text, in the half-second pause before I answer, in the way my voice changes when her name enters the room. You would know. That is what terrifies me. Because you are not a young girl hoping to be chosen. You are a woman who has chosen herself before. And you would do it again. Tell me honestly, if you felt the man you love hesitating between you and his mother, how long would you stay patient? Would you give him time to untangle himself? Or would you quietly close the door and protect your peace? This is where the tension deepens for me. Because I am not afraid of confrontation. I am afraid of being too late. There is another detail I have not shared. When I confronted my mother about the photograph in the drawer, she did not deny it. She did not get defensive. She said something colder. She said, "Some women come into your life to test your loyalty." And then she looked directly at me. "Make sure you know which kind she is." That sentence hit me like a challenge. Is she implying you are dangerous? Or is she warning me that if I am not strong enough, I will blame you for my own weakness? I keep turning this over in my head. Because if I allow her to frame you as a test, I am already shifting responsibility away from myself. You are not a test. You are a choice. And I am the one being tested. But here is where the emotional shift becomes sharper. For a brief moment tonight, I imagined what it would look like to choose someone easier. Someone my mother would smile at immediately. Someone who would not stir history. Someone who would fit. That thought made me physically uncomfortable. Not because that woman would be bad, but because she would not be you. She would not challenge me in the way that forces growth. She would not sit across from me and ask the questions that make me uncomfortable in the right way. You do that. You make me better without trying to control me. And that is precisely why this feels like a crossroads. If I choose you, I am choosing evolution. If I choose comfort, I am choosing repetition. There is something else my mother said before I left. She said, very quietly, "I know the kind of woman who can pull you away from everything." It was not accusation. It was fear. And that is the hidden truth beginning to surface. She is not afraid of you hurting me. She is afraid of losing me. That realization changes the battlefield entirely. Because now I see the war is not about your worth, it is about her attachment. And if I step forward toward you, fully, I am stepping away from her version of control. Do you see the weight of that? I am not deciding between two women. I am deciding between two identities. The son who protects his mother's emotional comfort, or the man who builds a life with a woman he loves even if it unsettles the past. And the longer I wait, the clearer something becomes. You will not beg, you will not compete. If I do not choose you with certainty, you will choose yourself. And when you do, I may not get a second chance. There is one more layer to this that I have not revealed. Something my father once told me about love that I did not understand until now. And it changes everything about how I see this moment. When I was 20, my father said something to me that felt dramatic at the time. I brushed it off as the kind of wisdom older men repeat when they want to sound profound. He said, "The woman you choose will determine whether you grow into yourself or shrink to survive." I did not understand it then. I thought love was about chemistry, compatibility, timing, attraction. I did not understand that love is architecture. It shapes the ceiling of your life. It decides how high you are allowed to stand. Tonight I finally understand what he meant. Because if I choose a woman who requires me to shrink so that everyone else feels safe, I will spend the rest of my life managing comfort instead of building truth. And if I choose a woman who forces me to grow, I will lose people who preferred the smaller version of me. You do not ask me to shrink. That is why this feels dangerous. I went back to my mother one more time before I left her house. I asked her directly, "Why did you burn it?" She did not hesitate. She said, "Because I recognize that kind of woman." There was no hatred in her voice. Only certainty. I asked her what she meant. She said, "She will not bend." And in her mind, that is a threat. But in mine, that is strength. Do you know how rare it is to find someone who does not bend to power, status, pressure? Someone who can look at a man with influence and still speak calmly, without intimidation. You do that. You do not orbit me. You meet me. And maybe that is what unsettles her. Because she raised me to be decisive, commanding, dominant in every room. And then I met you, and I started listening differently. I started pausing before reacting. I started questioning my own assumptions. Growth feels like loss to people who are attached to who you used to be. That is the hidden truth I have been circling. My mother is not afraid you will take me away. She is afraid you will change me. And she is right, you already have. The tension inside me is no longer confusion, it is clarity colliding with loyalty. If I stay neutral, I protect her comfort and slowly lose your respect. If I choose you openly, I risk fracturing something in my family that may never fully heal. Tell me, if you were in my position, would you wait for the fracture to happen naturally? Or would you create it intentionally to build something stronger? On the other side, there is something else my father told me that I never connected to this moment until tonight. He said the woman in the photograph left because he hesitated too long. He tried to balance everyone. He tried to keep peace. He tried to be the good son and the passionate partner at the same time. And she saw it. She told him she would not fight his mother for space in his life, so she walked away before he could decide. He married my mother later. Stability, familiarity, approval. But sometimes, when he thought no one was watching, I saw a certain silence in him. Not regret exactly. More like an unanswered question. I am starting to realize something painful. If I do not move with certainty soon, you will not explode in anger. You will simply choose yourself, and that loss would be quiet. Irreversible. I need to ask you something that may make you uncomfortable. If I told you I am willing to stand against my mother for you, would you trust that promise? Or would you wait to see it proven first? Because words are easy in private. Standing firm in daylight is different. There is a decision forming inside me. It is not impulsive. It is not emotional chaos. It is steady. But before I speak it out loud, there is one more truth about that photograph in the drawer that changes everything. And once I tell you, there is no going back. I did something I have never done before. I asked my father the question directly. Not gently. Not indirectly. I asked him, did you love her more than Mom? There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Not the kind where someone is searching for a polite answer. The kind where a man is deciding whether to finally tell the truth. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. He said, I loved her differently. And that word differently landed heavier than any confession. He told me she did not ask for approval. She did not demand to be chosen in a dramatic way. She simply told him she would not share him emotionally with his mother. She would not sit at a table where her presence felt conditional. And when he hesitated, even slightly, she stepped back, not angrily, gracefully. She chose herself, he said, and I respected her for it, even while it broke me. Do you see what this means? This is not about my mother burning your photo because she dislikes you. This is about her recognizing a woman who will not tolerate divided loyalty. She has seen that movie before, and she knows how it ends. The hidden truth I have been circling is this. She is not trying to protect me from you. She is trying to protect herself from losing me the way she once almost did. That is why the fire felt personal. It was fear. But here is where the tension tightens around us. If you are the kind of woman who will not compete, and I am the kind of man who hesitates, then history will repeat itself. Not because love is weak. Because indecision is. I have to ask you something difficult. If I stood in front of you tomorrow and told you I need time to manage my mother's feelings before choosing you publicly, would you hear maturity? Or would you hear hesitation? Be honest with yourself. Because I know what you would do. You would smile softly. You would say you understand. You would even reassure me that family matters. And then, little by little, you would begin stepping back. You would protect your dignity. And I would feel the shift too late. That is what my father described, not a dramatic ending. A quiet distance that grows until it becomes permanent. There was something else he told me that I cannot ignore. He said, the wrong woman will cling when you hesitate. The right one will leave. That sentence has been echoing in my mind, because it forces me to confront something about you. You are not clinging. You are calm, steady. Observant. You are giving me space to decide. And that space is not comfortable. It is pressure. The kind of pressure that reveals character. I realized tonight that the real turning point is not whether my mother accepts you. It is whether I am willing to be misunderstood by her for loving you. Because if I choose you fully, she will see it as loss, and I will have to stand in that discomfort without trying to soften it. That requires a version of me that is no longer seeking permission. And here is where the tension becomes almost unbearable. For a moment earlier today, before I called my father, I nearly sent you a message that would have created distance. Something polite. Mature? Maybe we should slow down? It would have sounded responsible. But it would have been fear. I stared at the words before sending them, and then I deleted them, because I saw the future in that message. A future where you nod with understanding and slowly close your heart. And I refuse to lose you quietly. But refusing to lose you means something radical. It means I have to choose you openly, not eventually, not strategically. Soon, and that choice will create impact. There will be tension. There will be disappointment. There will be conversations that hurt. Are you prepared for that? Not the romantic version of love. The real one, where choosing each other means not everyone else will be comfortable. Because if you are not, I need to know now. And if you are, then I have to stop hesitating. There is one final piece of this that I have not said yet. It is about what my mother did after the photo turned to ash, and it changes the direction of this completely. After the photo turned to ash, she did something I did not expect. She didn't leave the room. She didn't argue. She sat down. And for a long moment, she just stared at the fire as if she were looking at something only she could see. Her shoulders were not tense. They were tired. I have known my mother my entire life. I know the difference between anger and fear in her body. That was not anger. It was grief. And that is what unsettled me more than the flames. Then she said something so quiet I almost missed it. I hope you are stronger than he was. She didn't say my father's name. She didn't have to. In that moment, I understood something that shifted everything. This is not about you being wrong. It is about her believing love like yours forces a man to choose clearly. And she has already lived through what happens when a man cannot. She watched my father hesitate once. She watched another woman walk away with her dignity intact while she remained. She built a life from that fracture. She survived it. And now she sees me standing in the same emotional geometry. But here is the part that tightens my chest. She is testing me too. Burning the photo was not only rejection. It was a challenge. She wanted to see whether I would rescue it, whether I would defend you without being asked, whether I would stand up immediately or freeze again. And I froze. That is the truth I cannot avoid. Not because I do not love you, because I am still untangling loyalty from identity. When she said she hoped I was stronger, she was not threatening me. She was warning me. She knows the kind of woman who will not tolerate divided space. And she knows if I do not choose decisively, I will lose her and you both in different ways. I walked toward the door to leave, and she stopped me with one last sentence. She will not wait forever. She did not say it with contempt. She said it with certainty. And in that moment, something inside me shifted from defensive to aware. You are not waiting forever. You are watching. You are measuring. Not my words. My backbone. Tell me something honestly. When you feel a man hesitate between comfort and courage, does your heart move closer to him? Or does it begin to close? Because if I am honest, I feel the clock now. Not a dramatic countdown. A quiet one. The kind that happens when a woman decides she will not beg to be chosen. This is where the tension becomes heavier than it was before. Because now I see the real risk. It is not my mother's disapproval, it is your quiet withdrawal. You will not argue. You will not compete. You will simply reclaim yourself. And I will feel it in the space between our messages. In the slight cooling of your tone. In the absence of warmth that once felt natural. That loss would not be loud. It would be irreversible. So here I am, standing between a mother who fears losing her son and a woman who refuses to lose herself. And I have to become something stronger than both fears. There is something else she did after I walked out. I saw it through the reflection in the glass. She picked up the ashes. Carefully. As if they still mattered. And that image has not left me, because it tells me this is not destruction. It is memory. And now I have to decide whether I will let memory dictate my future. Or whether I will build something new. But before I make that decision out loud, there is one conversation I still have to have. Not with her. With you? And what I am about to tell you in that conversation could push you away if I say it wrong. I did not sleep before I called you. I needed my voice to be steady. Not defensive. Not reactive. You deserve clarity, not chaos. When you answered, there was warmth in your tone. That quiet maturity I have come to recognize. You did not rush me. You did not demand anything. You simply said my name, and for a second I almost abandoned the whole truth, because it would have been easier to pretend nothing happened. But pretending is how men lose the right woman. So I told you. Not every detail, not the drawer, not my father yet, but I told you she burned your photo. There was silence on your end. Not shocked silence. Measured silence. And that was when I felt the weight of this moment more than at any point before. You did not attack her. You did not defend yourself. You asked one question. Did you stop her? That question went straight through me. Because it was not about the fire. It was about my spine. I could have said yes instantly. I could have reshaped the story to protect how you see me. Instead, I told you the truth. I hesitated. And I heard the smallest shift in your breathing. Not anger, not tears, something more dangerous. Disappointment held with grace. You said very calmly, "I will not compete for space in your life." There it was. The same sentence from the letter in that drawer, echoing through time. I felt the air change between us. You did not threaten to leave. You did not dramatize it. You simply stated a boundary. And that boundary forced me to look at myself without illusion. Because in that moment, I realized something almost irreversible. If I asked you to wait while I sorted my mother's emotions, you would step back. You would choose yourself. And you would do it without noise. That realization hit harder than the fire ever did. This is the point where many men choose the easier path. They soften their love. They slow it down. They create distance to avoid confrontation. For a brief second during that call, I almost did. I almost told you maybe we should move carefully, maybe timing matters, maybe family dynamics need patience. But as those words formed in my mind, I saw your future. Not angry, not broken, just unavailable. And I knew if I said them, I would lose you slowly. So instead, I asked you something risky. I asked, if I choose you openly, even if it costs comfort at home, will you stand with me through the impact? There was another pause. And then you said something that shifted everything. I don't need you to fight your mother. I need you to know who you are when you stand next to me. That sentence unsettled me in the best way. Because it is not about rebellion. It is about identity. You are not asking me to abandon my family. You are asking me to stop being divided. And here is where the tension rises to a new level. Because after that call, I realized something almost unbearable. You are already prepared to walk if I remain uncertain. You are not waiting desperately. You are giving me a window. And windows close. This is the moment where a man either grows or shrinks. And I can feel the decision forming inside me. But there is still one piece I have not placed on the table. One truth about what my mother said after I left the room that changes the stakes again. And once I tell you that, you will understand why this feels like standing at the edge of something permanent. After I left her house, she sent me a message. Not long, not emotional, just one line. If you choose her, do not come back halfway. I stared at that sentence for a long time, because it was not a threat. It was a line drawn in the sand. She was not asking me to pick her. She was demanding that if I pick you, I do it completely. No divided loyalty, no emotional double life. No returning to her for comfort when things with you become difficult. And suddenly I understood something I had been resisting. This is not about my mother fighting you. This is about her forcing me to grow up. She has seen what hesitation does. She lived inside it once. She refuses to relive it again. If I choose you, she will step back. But she will not compete. And that makes the weight heavier, not lighter. Because now the comfort of going back and forth is gone. There is no middle ground anymore. And I realized something unsettling. Part of me liked the middle ground. It allowed me to delay full accountability. It allowed me to feel chosen by you while still being protected by her presence. But you are not a woman who tolerates half choice, and she is not a mother who tolerates divided loyalty. So I am the one who has been clinging to the illusion of balance. Tell me something honestly. When you love a man, do you want him balanced between worlds? Or rooted? Because rooted men are not always comfortable, they are decisive. And decisive men create consequences. I went back through our messages tonight. Every conversation. Every quiet check-in. Every moment you supported me without asking for spotlight. You have never asked me to choose you over anyone. You have only asked to be chosen fully. That difference matters. It means this is not about pressure from you. It is about clarity inside me. But here is where the tension almost tips into something irreversible. For the first time, I imagined life without you. Not dramatically. Practically. My days would continue. My work would move forward. Publicly, nothing would collapse. But something inside would shrink. Because I would know I walked away, not because you were wrong. But because I was afraid of friction. And that version of me disgusts me. Still, choosing you means something real. It means my mother may never look at you without seeing history. It means family gatherings might carry tension. It means I will have to stand firm in rooms where I was once the obedient son. Are you prepared for that reality? Not the romantic idea, the actual discomfort. Because if I choose you, I will not do it secretly. And if I do not choose you, I will not pretend. This is the narrowing point. The place where indecision starts to look like loss. And I can feel you waiting, not anxiously, but steadily. You are not chasing me. You are observing whether I rise. There is one more piece I have to confront before I say what I am about to say. It is about something you told me early on that I did not fully understand until now. And if I get this wrong, it could push you to close the door completely. Tonight, I saw myself clearly for the first time. I realized I had been protecting comfort over truth. I had been shielding myself from conflict while imagining that love could exist without friction. But that illusion ends here. Love does not live in avoidance. It lives in the space where fear meets courage. I kept replaying the way you spoke on the phone. Your calm, unwavering tone. You were not asking me to battle anyone for you. You were asking me to be myself fully, without hiding behind hesitation. And that clarity hit harder than any warning from my mother. I thought about what it would mean to lose you quietly. Not through anger or miscommunication, but because I failed to stand. Because I waited too long. The thought pressed against my chest, so tightly it felt like I couldn't breathe. You would not fight for me. You would protect yourself. And I would deserve it. I thought about my father, about the woman who walked away. How easily things can repeat. How one man's hesitation allows history to replay. That fear crawled into me tonight, whispering that I could make the same mistake. I almost sent you a message earlier. Something safe. Something that would delay. But as my thumb hovered over the screen, I imagined your quiet withdrawal. I imagined the warmth between us cooling subtly until it became permanent. And I deleted it. I could not let that happen. You are not waiting for me desperately. You are observing. Measuring. You are giving me a window that is closing. That realization rattled me more than any confrontation ever could. I remember her words again. If you choose her, do not come back halfway. That line is burned into me tonight. It is not a threat. It is a mirror. It is asking me whether I can stand fully, even if it costs comfort. Even if it unsettles the past, I am afraid of failing. Afraid of losing you quietly. Afraid of realizing too late that hesitation is more destructive than opposition. But I cannot hide anymore. I must step forward. And yet, before I do, there is one hidden truth I have not revealed. One piece about the photograph, about the fire, that changes everything I have said so far. And when I tell it, nothing will feel the same. The hidden truth is this. The photograph my mother burned, it was never just about you. She held it over the flame and watched it curl. And in that moment, she wasn't judging your face. She was judging the power you have over me. She was testing whether I would allow myself to be fully present with someone who doesn't bend for comfort, someone who asks for nothing but my truth. I realized tonight that the fire wasn't destruction. It was a measure, a test I failed in hesitation. Because I did not grab the photo fast enough. I did not shield it. I did not immediately step forward to protect what I wanted most. And the weight of that failure pressed down on me. Not because I feared her judgment, but because I feared losing you. Quietly, slowly, without a dramatic fight, just the subtle withdrawal of a woman who will not tolerate half-choice. I replayed your face in my mind. The way you smile when you are calm. The way your eyes seem to look through me, not at me, measuring whether I am steady. That strength terrifies me, because I know you will not wait forever. You will not compromise yourself to accommodate hesitation. And I began to see the edges of what this choice really means. If I step forward fully, I risk tension that may never dissolve. I risk disapproval, raised voices, frozen dinners, unspoken glances. I risk being seen as a son divided between love and loyalty. But I will gain something far rarer. I will gain clarity. I will gain you. I cannot let the fear of discomfort dictate this, not now. Not after everything that has led to this moment. Not after seeing how carefully you hold yourself while measuring mine. I keep thinking about the letters in that drawer. How she circled one line and let the rest be silent. I will not compete with your mother for your loyalty. That quiet dignity echoes through me tonight. That is what you are showing me by being present yet patient. I have a choice. Step forward fully rooted, knowing the consequences. Or retreat, leaving a space you will inevitably reclaim with yourself. And that is what keeps me awake tonight. The possibility of losing you quietly because I feared the friction, because I sought comfort over truth. I cannot do that. I will not do that. But there is still one moment I must confront. One moment that will test everything I have said. One moment where I realize the scale of near loss, and what it would cost if I hesitate even a second longer. I almost lost you tonight, not in argument, not in anger, not in drama. In quiet, subtle ways that only a woman like you would notice. The way my words faltered when I tried to explain the fire. The way my hesitation made the truth seem negotiable. The way I allowed fear to color what should have been clarity. I imagined you walking away, not slamming a door, not shouting, just stepping back, protecting your dignity, slowly pulling your warmth, your presence, your trust out of reach. And I felt it before it could happen. The slow, irreversible drift of a woman who will not compete for attention or validation. I thought about how you have never asked for dramatic proof. You do not need me to fight anyone for you. You only need me to be fully present. And yet I nearly failed you because I allowed the weight of history, of family, of expectation, to make me hesitate. Do you know what that feels like? To realize that the most dangerous person in your life is not your mother, not an ex, not circumstance, but yourself? That your own fear of friction could erase what you love most? I replayed every interaction, every pause in my voice, every moment I considered delay, and I saw clearly that hesitation is the quietest thief. It does not shout. It does not strike. It simply allows distance to grow until it feels permanent. Then I imagined you choosing yourself, quietly, calmly, the way you always do, and I saw that version of myself, the man who let fear govern him, standing alone, watching, too late to reach you. That is when I broke, not physically, not dramatically, inside. The part of me that has always believed love should be easy, that has always thought courage can wait. That part shattered tonight. I realized the choice is no longer about approval, about comfort, about avoiding confrontation. The choice is whether I stand fully with you, knowing it will create tension, knowing it will test every bond I have ever relied on. And in that moment, I understood why my mother burned the photo. Not to punish you, not to protect me, to wake me up, to force me to realize that love, real love, is never safe, never easy, and always demands full presence. I cannot step back now, not after seeing the edge, not after feeling how close I came to losing you silently. And yet, standing here, I see the storm ahead, the unspoken tension, the quiet judgment, and I know I have to face it all fully, or it will cost us both. I have to tell you this now, because waiting any longer would be cowardice. I have stood at the edge tonight, staring at what could be lost, and I feel the weight of every hesitation I have carried. Every pause, every second I considered safety over truth, could have pushed you away quietly, and I cannot let that happen. I see you clearly. Not just your face, not just your presence, but the way you hold yourself when the world asks you to bend. That strength is not a threat. It is a beacon. It is the reason I cannot falter. The fire that burned your photograph was not rejection. It was recognition. Recognition that you are someone who demands a man to stand fully, or risk losing her entirely. That is the lesson I have learned tonight, in the quiet of ash and memory. I have made the decision. Not out of rebellion, not to prove myself. I choose you because I know who I am when I stand beside you. I choose you because hesitation will not serve either of us. I choose you because love is not comfortable, but it is real. And yes, there will be tension. There will be disapproval. There will be the quiet unease of those who have watched my life unfold. But none of that matters more than this, choosing you fully, with my eyes open, my heart exposed, my presence complete. I do not know what tomorrow brings, or how history will judge my choices. I only know that if I do not stand here now, I will have lost the one person who makes me feel whole in a way no achievement, no approval, no legacy ever could. So I am standing. Fully. No hesitation. No half measures. No looking back. You are not a test. You are the answer I have been seeking, the truth I can no longer ignore. And if fear comes, it will meet certainty. If doubt arises, it will find clarity. If history whispers, I will answer with presence.